Okay, here's the Yamaha Skytrax RX1 motor installation on a trike. Hello everybody, today I'm going to demonstrate the installation of the Skytrax adapter cover onto the Yamaha RX1 snowmobile engine, year models 2003, 4, and 5. What the adapter will allow you to do is remove the stock OEM cover, put the adapter on. Once you have the adapter installed, then it has provisions in it to bolt the Rotax C gearbox right onto the RX1 Yamaha snowmobile engine. What the adapter cover kit will include is obviously the adapter, which is a T6 6061 aircraft grade aluminum billet machine piece. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful piece with a new seal for the output shaft, a gasket for the adapter cover onto the Yamaha engine, 8 new 8mm bolts for the Rotax C gearbox. They'll be shorter since the Rotax C gearbox will have to be machined down just a little bit to fit the cover, just because the depth is a little bit different on the Yamaha than the Rotax. And 6 new socket head cap screws for the center bearing retainer on the Yamaha engine. So to start with, what we're going to do is we're going to clean, obviously, really good around the engine before we remove the cover. And then we'll remove the 6 bolts here in the center and discard them for the bearing retainer. Then we'll remove all the perimeter bolts, which I've removed a number of these bolts just to make it simpler for demonstration purposes. We'll remove the perimeter casing cover bolts, and we'll save these because we'll use these when we go back together with the adapter. We just work the cover back and forth. It's on 2 alignment dowel pins on each side and a bearing bore in the center. So once we get it pulled off, there'll be 2 alignment pins on each side of the cover. We'll remove those, or sometimes they stay inside the engine here on these holes, which is okay, we can leave them there. And then we'll take these alignment dowel pins and we'll install them into the Skytrax cover in the same positions. We'll clean really well the gasket mating surface area. We'll install a new gasket and install the adapter cover. When we're starting to put the adapter cover on, obviously there'll be a new lip seal here, so we need to be very careful on the shoulder that we don't roll the lip seal over. So we'll be very careful when we slide that lip seal on there and lubricate it just a little bit on the shaft. And this bearing retainer, we'll line these holes up in the bearing retainer with these holes in the adapter cover as we're going together with it. Obviously with the new gasket. We'll use the 6 new socket head cap screws in the bearing retainer. Sometimes it's tricky to get the bearing retainer lined up. So for now, I'm just going to install a couple of these bolts into position for demonstration. So we'll torque the center bearing retainer bolts to 9 foot-pounds, and I'll include a set of instructions obviously for the installation of the adapter, as well as the installation of the Rotax C gearbox with some exploded views if you're not familiar with the Rotax C gearbox. So then we'll finish installing all of the socket head cap screws onto the cover, torquing those back to 9 foot-pounds. Then we're ready to take the Rotax C gearbox flywheel and we'll fit it onto the shaft, and we'll make a scribe mark onto the shaft. Since we don't want the shaft sticking out of the flywheel, we'll need to cut or grind that shaft back using the flywheel as a guard. Grind a little bit and then put it back on there and make sure the shaft is recessed in here so that whenever we put the bolt on it and the Rotax washer, that we're tightening against the flywheel and not the shaft. And the kit will come with a new center crankshaft or output shaft bolt. So after we grind and clean and make sure that there's nothing in the threads, we'll install the new bolt with the Rotax washer. And this will get torqued to 45 foot-pounds. I'm just going to snug it up just for demonstration purposes right now. We'll take the Rotax Hardy disc and 3-finger spider coupling, which comes with it, the gearbox, and when it comes new, this will be mounted. If it's not mounted or you buy a used one, you'll need to torque these to 30 foot-pounds and use some Loctite thread locker. You'll fit the rubber Hardy disc with the spider installed onto the flywheel using the 8mm bolts, and put some thread locker on these bolts as well. Loctite medium thread locker. You install these, and then torque these to 30 foot-pounds, which again, all of this is in the instructions that come with the adapter kit. So once you get those torqued to 30 foot-pounds, take the Rotax C gearbox and we're going to split it. Take the outer perimeter bolts obviously off, split the cover, and you'll remove the pinion gear, the smaller gear basically. Set that there and get it ready. The aft cover portion of it, after this has been machined, which I can do the machining if need be, we just need to shorten this a little bit. After this gets machined, then we're ready to install the Rotax aft cover onto the adapter. So we slide it into position, and there's a shoulder on the adapter that this should snap right into for alignment purposes. Once you feel it kind of snap into position, then you can install the 8mm bolts. Just get them started for now. Just so that it holds it into position. And then take the pinion shaft, making sure that the shims are on the pinion shaft, which you should come that way from Rotax, or if you get it used. Slide the small gear into the 3-finger, should line up. If not, loosen the gearbox just a little bit. Should slide in just like that. With the gearbox still loose, install the center socketed cap screw with the lock washer, applying a small amount of Loctite to the threads. And install this, and then this will get torqued to 16 foot-pounds. So we'll make sure that we torque this to 16 foot-pounds. Now we can tighten up our 8 perimeter bolts, and we can torque these to 16 foot-pounds. These won't require any thread locker on them. Tighten these in a diametrical pattern. Once we get all these torqued to 16 foot-pounds, make sure that we got a new gasket on the cover. Then we can slide the outer cover for the Rotax C gearbox on. There we go. And then install the perimeter bolts on the Rotax all the way around, and then torque those to 8 foot-pounds, all the perimeter bolts. Now that was the installation of a standard Rotax C gearbox with the OEM rubber hardy disc in the center. Now I'm going to show you quickly the installation of a Rotax C gearbox that's utilizing the RK400 clutch, which allows the prop to spin freely from the engine. So if you want to start your motor up at idle and not have the prop spinning, so we'll just go ahead and take this gearbox back off. In reverse order, obviously. So if you have the RK400 clutch, this is your new flywheel instead of the Rotax. This flywheel will replace this Rotax flywheel. So now starting from right after we ground the shaft off, we'll install this instead of the flywheel, which has centrifugal pads built into it. So we'll torque this to the same 45 foot-pounds. We'll take this Rotax C gearbox that has the RK400 clutch drum installed into it. We'll split this gearbox just like we did the other one. Now this one, the drum is already installed. This center bolt is already installed into the three-finger spider, which is bolted to the outer drum here. So the only thing we'll have to do on this gearbox is just slide it 8mm bolts. Same thing, we'll snap it over the shoulder, or fit it right over the alignment shoulder. We'll torque these bolts to the Rotax recommended torque. They're in the instructions. Make sure this gets torqued in a diametrically opposed pattern. To the 16 foot-pounds. Since the small gear is already installed and bolted in place, and all we need to do is install the cover, front cover, and then install the cover fasteners in a diametrically opposed pattern, and then tighten them down, and that completes the installation of the Rotax to Yamaha adapter cover using either the RK400 clutch or the standard rubber hardy disc in a stock Rotax cover.